What up, Fab Fanatics? On it here, back with some more flesh and blood content for you. I'm really excited to bring you today's video. It's been in the works for some time now. It's my very first deck discussion. Azalea has been my girl since I started playing Fab. I pretty much single-handedly been focused on building a competitive Azalea deck. I did just play this deck in the 1K Guarantee tournament this past weekend, presented by Metrics Daily, Card Merchant, and Adept Events. Although I didn't fare all that well, I went 1-3 with a bye. I did have a lot of fun, and I felt this deck was competitive. I was actually in it in every single one of the games, so I felt like it was worthy enough to share the deck with you and hopefully open the discussion of how I could possibly make it better. All right, I will be using the awesome resource that is FabDBNet to display and show you the deck. If you haven't been into this website, do go check it out. Set up a profile. It's free to use. The resources are extremely powerful with the collection manager and the basic deck builder. I did sign up for Patreon, so I am a member. I do have access to the premium deck builder, which I think is totally worth it. This is definitely one of those websites and resources that's worth supporting. So head on over to the website, check it out, and support it for yourself. Jumping into deck builder here, we're going to go to Heavy Red Azalea. The title is self-explanatory, as you will see shortly. Let's go ahead and discuss, of course, Azalea, her weapon and equipment to start. Azalea, Ace in the Hole, once per turn action, cost 0. Put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck. If you do, put the top card of your deck face up into your arsenal. If it's an arrow card, it gains Dominate until end of turn. Go again. In order to maximize the use of this deck, you want to be using her ability as often as you possibly can. The name of the game is to send big, dominating arrows at your opponent. Her weapon, Death Dealer, it's a once per turn action, costing 1. If you have no cards in your arsenal, you may put an arrow card from your hand face up into your arsenal. If you do, draw a card, go again. Of course, arrows have to be played from arsenal, so that is a huge aspect of this game, and which can be a challenging part of getting this deck to operate efficiently. Death Dealer helps with that efficiency in a sense of getting arrows into your arsenal face up, and there's quite a few cards that have extra abilities if you can get it into your arsenal face up, as we'll discuss in a little bit. Skullbone Crosswrap is the legendary equipment of Ranger. Once per turn action, turn a face down card in your arsenal face up. Opt 1, go again. Arcane Barrier 1, Blade Break. This, I think, is one of the more powerful legendary equipments in the game, being hero specific. This pretty much allows you to know what's on the top of your deck every turn, which is huge in this deck because it helps dictate whether you want to activate your Death Dealer or your Azalea abilities. Bullseye Bracers is the Ranger common equipment. Action, destroy bracers. If you have no cards in your arsenal, you may put an arrow card from your hand face up into your arsenal. It gains +1 until end of turn. Go again. Arcane Barrier 1. So between the bracers and the cross wrap, you have 2 Arcane Barrier in there, which is huge against Wizard and Runeblade. So your Arcane Barrier is built into your equipment already. Bracers, I tend to use bracers that leads into a big multiple attack turn. So it is definitely a strategic equipment. Obviously, it doesn't defend for anything, so you want to use it where you feel you're going to get maximum use out of it. Findell Spring Tunic. Of course, we know how powerful this card is. That's why it's one of the most sought after cards in the game right now. At the start of your turn, if Tunic has less than 3 energy counters on it, you may put an energy counter on it. Instant, remove 3 energy counters from Tunic, gain a pitch point, Blade Break 1. This is very powerful in this deck in particular because every card in here is a 0 or 1 cost. So that extra 1 pitch point every 3 turns can fuel a multiple attack turn. Snapdragon Scalers, attack reaction, destroy it, target attack action card with cost 1 or less, gains, go again. Of course, this hits every single attack action card in the deck. Again, it is a strategic equipment more so than a defense equipment. You want to maximize the use out of this, which hopefully will lead into a multi-attack turn. I do have Null Boots in here as a sideboard card, Arcane Barrier 1. I will sideboard this in 4 scalers to give myself 3 arcane barrier against Runeblade or Wizard. So that is, of course, the equipment and weapon. Let's go ahead and discuss the support cards around the attacks first. So action cards. 3 of a kind. I only have 1. This is one of the Majestics of Ranger. I only have 1 in the deck right now because I've had a challenging time getting this card to work. 3 of a kind, cost 1, pitches for 1, defends for 2. Draw 3 cards until end of turn. You may only play cards from Arsenal. Go again. That second part of the card is very challenging. You have to set this card up properly, and I just haven't been able to quite crack it yet. The card forcing you to have to play from Arsenal for the rest of the turn takes some setting up. We'll just leave it at that. Knock the Death Whistle, I believe, is one of the strongest cards in the deck. 0 cost, 3 pitch, 3 defense. It's Azalea specialization. Search your deck for an arrow card, reveal it, then shuffle your deck and put it on top of your deck. Reload, go again. This allows you to go and fetch your biggest, strongest arrows, put it on top of your deck, and then be able to either Death Dealer it into your hand, or ideally Azalea into your arsenal face up to send it over at your opponent as a big dominate arrow. Rapid Fire is one of the super rares. Pitches for 0, cost 0, pitches for 2, defends for 2. Until end of turn, arrows you control gain, go again, reload, go again. Rapid Fire tends to be one of those cards that I do strategically pitch every once in a while. It is a kind of a case-by-case basis of whether you want to play it, depending on what your hands looks like, whether you're able to get a couple arrows off in a turn versus pitching it to be able to play, maybe a generic attack with a go again and then an arrow behind it. Take Aim, I have the entire playset of Take Aim in here, all 9 of them. 0 pitch, cost 1, 2, or 3, obviously. Take Aim, the next Ranger attack action card you play this turn gains +1 for blue, +2 for yellow, and +3 for red. Reload, go again, defends for 2. Take Aim is one of those cards. I put all 9 in here. I think it might be excessive. I might pull back on possibly 1 or 2 blues. Just because I think I've been running into this card a little bit too much in the deck. You do want to pump your arrows. You much rather obviously be sending a dominate arrow over for 6, 7, or 8, which makes it that much more challenging to defend and more likely to do damage than just sending a arrow over for 4 or 5 dominate. So Take Aim is an integral part of that. Nimbleism, we are running the Nimbleism Nimble Strike combo in here. I'm running 2 of red, 2 of yellow. Nimbleism costs 0, pitches for 1, defends for 2. The next attack action card with 1 or less you play this turn gains +2 for yellow or +3 for red. Go again. Again, this just adds redundancy to your arrow attacks. It does pretty much the same thing as Take Aim, and also it fuels your Nimble Strike later in the game. Let's go to our attack reactions. Razor Reflex, I have 3 red and 3 blue in here. Again, this is another area where I'm uncertain. Of course, Razor Reflex costs 1, pitches for 1 red, or pitches for 3, obviously blue. Choose one. The first part doesn't matter because we don't have a sword or a dagger. Second part is what matters. Target attack action card with cost 1 or less gains +1, and if this hits, this attack gains, go again, defends for 2. I really like having the flexibility of the blue Reflex in here. This card, with blue, you're not so much worried about doing as much damage as possible. It's more you're using this card as an attack reaction to sneak that extra damage in and go again. Whereas the red Reflex hitting for 3 is, is obviously the more powerful card. But again, I have these in here with the intention of getting a attack or an arrow to hit to gain go again, to string a couple more, at least 1 if not 2 more attacks behind it. Defense reactions. Take Cover, which is of course the Ranger defense reaction, costs 0, pitches for 1 or pitches for 2. Allows you to reload on your opponent's turn, which is pretty key. That's just there's some strategy behind reloading or not. Defense for 3 for yellow and defense for 4 red. And our other defense reaction, Fate for Scene, obviously cost 0, pitches for 1, defense for 4, opt 1. Again, both of these cards allow you to activate mechanics of the deck on your opponent's turn. Reload is a huge part of this deck, as well as opting. So both of these allow you to position yourself for your next turn. And these are both in here strategically. I'm not quite sure if this is the correct combo of number of cards in here. This being an aggro deck, I've been considering cutting the couple of take covers and just running the six reds. I'm interested to hear your opinion on that. Instance, I have Irina's Prayer in this deck as a sideboard card. Cost 1, pitches for 1, reveal the top card of your deck, prevent the next X arcane damage that would be dealt to you this turn, where X is 6 minus the pitch value of the card revealed this way. This is pretty much the best defense you have against arcane damage. So against Wizard or Runeblade, this is being sideboarded in. This also has the extra added benefit of allowing you to scope the top of your deck, so you know what's sitting on the top of your deck going into your next turn, so that then you can maximize the use of your cross wrap and your abilities going into your next attack phase. I have 2 remembrances in here, pitches for 0, or cost 0, pitches for 2. Shuffle up to 3 action cards from your graveyard into your deck, banish remembrance. I'm most likely using, obviously, this to bring back my biggest, strongest attacks and arrows. Self-explanatory. All right, let's get into the whole reason why this deck is called Heavy Red Azalea, and that is our attacks. We are running 12 attacks. All of them are the red version of the attacks, so they are the strongest attacks that we can have. There are 8 arrow attacks and 4 general or generic attacks. The biggest, baddest arrow we can send is red in the ledger. It is the Majestic Ranger Action Arrow Attack. It's the Azalea Specialization. Cost 1, pitches for 1. Defense for 3, attacks for 5. If red in the ledger hits a hero, they can't play or activate more than 1 action point during their next turn. This is one of those. This is the arrow I'm pretty much going and fetching with Knock the Death Whistle and sending it over at my opponent Dominate, because this card single-handedly can throw them off of their game for at least a turn, especially against your Dash or your Ninja decks that are looking to go off in combo and go off and have multiple attacks every turn. Endless Arrows, again, this is probably, I feel like this probably the second most powerful card, most powerful arrow in the deck. Cost 0, which is huge. Pitches for 1, defense for 3, and hits for 4. If the arrow hits, put it back into your hand. This is an arrow that your opponent has to respect. If they do let it hit, it regularly leads into another arrow attack, possibly multiple, depending on where you're at in your turn and how you've used your resources. Headshot can end up being the biggest arrow by itself that you can send over at your opponent. It costs 1, it pitches for 1, defends for 3. It hits for a 4 initially, but if you can get Headshot put into your arsenal, face up, it gains +2 until end of turn. This is one of those arrows that you love to see sitting on the top of your deck when you opt, so that you can activate Azalea, get it into your arsenal face up, and send a big Dominate arrow over at your opponent. Hamstring Shot, costs 1, pitches for 1, defends for 3, hits for 5. Hamstring Shot, if it hits, the first attack action during their next attack action phase, it costs an additional 1 to play. The ability is more of an annoyance than anything. It's just it's a big arrow coming at your opponent. Ridge Rider Shot, costs 0, pitches for 1, defends for 3, and attacks for 4. If Ridge Rider Shot is put into your arsenal face up, opt 1. This again, it gives you an extra ability besides using cross wrap to know what's sitting on the top of your deck. So ideally, you're going to Death Dealer this into your arsenal face up, allowing you to look at the top of your deck before drawing the card off a Death Dealer, so that you're more likely to draw into what you're looking for. Salvage Shot, costs 1, pitches for 1, defends for 3, hits for 5. If Salvage Shot hits, put it in the bottom of your deck. This is a sneaky arrow. This is one of those arrows, again, that your opponent has to respect and most likely defend outright, and else it's going back onto the bottom of your deck, and they are allowing you to fuel a late game rally with some big arrows if they don't deal with it in the moment. Searing Shot costs 0, pitches for 1, defends for 3, attacks for 4. If Searing Shot hits a hero, they lose an extra life point. That's just a sneaky life point. Really, this is just a 0 cost 4 arrow. Ideally, you're sending it at your opponent pumped up through either Take Aim or Nimblism. Sikkim Shot. This is one of those arrows that ends up leading into a multi-arrow attack. I regularly play this first, of course, because it has Go Again. Cost 1, pitches for 1, defends for 3, hits for 4, Go Again. Self-explanatory. Send the first Sikkim Shot at your opponent. They're going to either have to decide whether to at least partial block it or block it outright, but they're most likely know that it's leading into some more attacks coming their way. So it's on your opponent to decide how to handle that situation. Because in my experience, I regularly send a bigger arrow or a bigger attack after Sikkim Shot, if not multiple. Then we get into our generic actions. We have 4 of them. Ravenous Rabble, I think, is a staple in this deck for a reason. Cost 0, pitches for 1, defends for 2, attacks for 5. The ability, reveal the top card of your deck. Ravenous Rabble gets -X, where X is the pitch value of the card revealed this way. This is one of those cards like, hey, you know, it's nice if you know the top card of your deck when you play this attack so that you know that it's coming in for ideally 4 or 3. But it is also a way for you to figure out what's on the top of your deck without having to use your other opt resources like Cross Wrap early on in your turn. So this card ends up being able to fuel the mechanics of your deck later on in your turn. I very rarely does this hit in this deck for 2 because you'll have so few 3-pitch cards. You're most likely sending this at your opponent for 3 or 4 with Go Again. If not pumped because of Nimblism. Scar for a Scar, again, it's redundancy. I feel like Scar for a Scar is pretty much another semi-rabble in a sense. It costs 0 to play, pitches for 1, defends for 2, attacks for 4. When you play Scar for a Scar, if you have less life than your opponent, it gains Go Again. And that's pretty much why this card is in the deck. It's a 0 cost 4 attack that you play out first. And being an aggro Azalea deck, you're most likely going to be playing from behind. So more likely than not, Go Again will be active, which will allow you to lead into another attack, if not multiple arrow attacks. Enlightened Strike, E-Strike, we know how powerful this card is and how versatile it is. 0 cost, 1 pitch, 3 defense, 5 attack. As an additional cost to play Enlightened Strike, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. Choose 1, draw a card, Enlightened Strike gains +2, or 8 gains Go Again. I'm most likely, I'd say more than half the time I'm using this as a 5 Go Again, leading into more attacks behind it. It is also nice to have as your kind of finisher for your turn, where you can just send a big, nasty 7 attack over at your opponent after having, played a previous attack or 2 before it. Nimble Strike is the last generic action. Again, as I discussed earlier, Nimble Strike, Nimblism combo is in here. It costs 1, pitches for 1, defends for 2, attacks for 4. As an additional cost to play Nimble Strike, you may banish a card named Nimblism from your graveyard. If you do, Nimble Strike gains +1 and Go Again. You pretty much want to be attacking with this card and banishing Nimblism. So if that's not happening, I'm regularly either pitching or defending with this early until I can get a Nimblism into my graveyard, because the real benefit of this card is to send a 5 attack at your opponent, Go Again first, leading into more arrows. So that is the deck. It is obviously an 80 card deck. I have the 4 sideboard cards, which are the 3 Irina's Prayer and the Null Rune Boots for arcane damage prevention. I do run pretty much the rest of the deck at full speed, or at full strength. So I run a 74 card deck, I think it is. in the sense that, of course, this is aggro and you want to get this game over as soon as possible. But having those extra cards in there, there is a lot of redundancy with this deck with so many arrows that you're landing on your attacks. Half the deck is attacks, as we can go to our details here, which is a pretty cool aspect of the deck builder. There's 36 attack actions in here, so half the deck is attack. So yeah, it's this is the deck that I built out, and here's the statistics for it. Again, everything is 0 or 1 cost, which makes it really cheap to play. I've definitely, like I said, found that having a couple extra blue pitch cards in the deck is beneficial in a sense, because it allows me to pitch 1 card in order to fuel a big turn, instead of having to pitch 1 or 2 cards or 2 cards, or wait for Tunic to tick up to really fuel a card or a hand. All right, well, that is the deck. I'm interested to hear your guys' opinions. Please comment below if you're a Ranger player or interested in Ranger. Tell me what you think. Again, I'm a novice player, so this is just me sharing my novice deck with you. By no means is it optimized. So yeah, let's open the discussion of how we can make Azalea a better deck. I look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you very much for watching, and hope you're enjoying the content. Of course, like, comment, and subscribe. Tell your other FaB friends about FaB Foundry. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day.